Hi. I want to continue to discover some principles in the Bible about the culture of honor and see how we can apply those principles to our relationships, our families and homes, and make them a lot better, a lot richer. There's a verse in Ephesians, it's chapter 1, verse 18, and it's actually part of a prayer that the Apostle Paul was praying for the people in Ephesus and praying for us as well. And let me just jump into the middle of the prayer. It's verse 18. And he's praying that the eyes of your understanding would be enlightened so that you may know what is the hope of his calling and what are the riches of the glory of his inheritance in the saints. And in this prayer, Paul actually prays the part I want to focus on, that you would know what are the riches of the glory of his inheritance in the saints. It's talking about God's inheritance in the saints, and it calls that the riches of the glory. And here's what we can learn from this. God tells us right here how he defines wealth, how he defines riches. And it's not about money, it's not about a big house or a big bank account. He defines wealth as relationships. He defines wealth as people that are close to his heart. This is God speaking here. How do we know this? Check out the verse again, that you may know what is the hope of his calling and what are the riches of the glory of his inheritance in the saints. So the verse is speaking about an inheritance, but it's not our inheritance, it's God's inheritance. It says his inheritance. And what is his inheritance? The next few words tell you, in the saints, the people that God has redeemed, the people that Jesus has saved out of the earth. And if you're a believer, that's you and that's me. We are his saints, and we are the people he has redeemed, and he says in this verse, we are his inheritance. Now, an inheritance, you understand, is something that if somebody passes away, a relative, and they loved you and they left you an inheritance, it generally has great worth or value. They left you an estate or a property or a bank account. An inheritance is something that has enormous value that you're looking forward to receiving. And so God's inheritance, the thing that has amazing value to him, is his saints, the people he has redeemed from the earth, that will come to him someday and will be close to his heart forever. That's how God sees you and me. And I'm kind of explaining that in many words, but the simple version is God defines wealth as relationships. God defines riches as relationships and the people that are close to his heart. That's an amazing thing, because God sees you as a gem, as a jewel, as a precious thing to him. He doesn't see you as someone to just give orders to, bark orders to. He sees you, that your value to God is in your relationship. Your value to God is not in your service, not necessarily in your obedience. Your value to God is in your ability to be close to his heart, to satisfy his heart and have relationship with him. And God defines that as wealth. And I said all that to say this. Let's adopt the same value system as God. So our definition of wealth and riches is not necessarily money or a house or a car. Our definition of wealth is the relationships that we have with the people around us, that we invest in and we treasure, and we make those relationships become everything they can be. When you see your spouse, husband or wife, as a treasure and as wealth, rather than as an annoyance or an inconvenience or someone that bugs you or someone that you're mad at, you see that person as a treasure from God, and you define them as wealth. That changes the dynamic of the relationship. You might say, well, I'm still irritated at them and they still don't act right. That may be true. However, so what's the practical application of this? The truth is, when you begin to treat somebody as if they have great value to you, and you show them that by the way you speak to them and treat them, it literally transforms the relationship, and what you sow, you reap. What you put out, you will get back. When you begin to see people around you as wealth and riches and treasures and treat them that way, it changes the dynamics of the relationship, and they actually become wealth. They actually become riches to you. When you treat your children in the same way, or your grandchildren, not as someone who is an inconvenience or someone who makes a mess or someone who irritates you when they don't do what they're told, but you see your child as an amazing wealth and a treasure to you, and you begin to treat them that way. Yes, you're still going to discipline them, you're still going to teach them, you're still going to correct them, you're still going to do all those things a parent does, but let them know that they are wealth to you, they are treasure to you, and when you treat them that way, watch the relationship transform. God defines wealth as relationships. He sees us that way. That's the culture of heaven. That's the culture of honor. And when we internalize that and begin to truly embrace that and see the people around us that way, watch how the culture of heaven transforms your relationships, transforms your home, and transforms your own heart.